Scraper report!
That's Scrapper, you asshole!
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Scrapper, the leader of the Constructicons and the first of 6 components, which once combined will form the mighty Devastator. And as we whack up an image of how he appeared on the original cartoon, this guy's design has always been fairly straightforward, and in this case, I think they've absolutely nailed it. So as we check out the details, the head sculpt is bang on, incredibly cartoon accurate. The faceplate, the chest unit and the thighs have all been super nicely painted, and to match some of the previous updates, this guy's also sporting a ton of additional surface detail, which I think looks great. The only area which personally I'm not the biggest fan of would have to be the inside of the arms. For a deluxe scale Transformer, retailing for the price point of a Voyager, these are a little too hollow for my liking, and I really do think they could have done a better job in concealing some of those joints. But as we spin around to the back of Scrapper, once again incredibly animation accurate, even down to the massive bucket on his back, which to tell the truth, I'm honestly surprised in the show he never used as a full-blown shield, as this most definitely could have deflected the firepower of his enemies. Although once again guys, I've got to mention these pretty unsightly gaps in the back of the legs. Now originally I thought this was down to transformation, but as you guys will see later on, there really is no reason at all for these to be this deep, other than to ultimately charge us more and give us less back, literally. Now, in terms of accessories, to be entirely honest, these are super cool. So up first, we do see the return of his iconic G1 blaster, and I should imagine that once equipped with this, Scrapper should have no issues in leading the Constructicons into battle. Then next up are 2 additional blasters, which both have been super nicely detailed, and while Scrapper is able to make use of these for himself, these can totally be combined into the BFG for the mighty Devastator. And despite this only being the accessory for the upcoming combiner, already this is looking to be incredibly promising. Really nicely detailed, and unlike Scrapper himself, looks to be completely filled in front side to back. Now, checking out Scrapper's articulation, the head is on a ball joint. This will look up and down and can also spin left to right. The shoulders can kick forwards and backwards. Due to transformation, there is a really cool butterfly joint. They can then also kick there out to the side. There is also a bicep cut, and this time round, proper elbows. Something that most definitely is an improvement in comparison to that past release, although unfortunately, there is no wrist nor any waist articulation. Now, originally, I thought the lack of a waist joint was mainly due to this guy forming the ankle of Devastator, and I'm pretty certain that had a role to play. But to be honest guys, I think there is more than enough room to engineer a waist cut, which then also would have given Devastator a proper ankle swivel. Their hips can then kick forwards roughly to that far, and can also kick backwards to an equal range, meaning this guy should have no issues in totally pulling off the splits. They can then also kick there out to the side, the thigh can spin all the way around, and the knee can bend there to 90. The ankle can pivot upwards and can also rock inwards. So you still are able to get some pretty decent poses out of this guy, but at this point, I'm sure you guys all know the drill. To see what devastation Scrapper can cause, let's now put him through the pose test. Now, firing through some robot mode size comparisons, on the right hand side we have the 2015 Combiner Wars version of Scrapper. Now, the main reason as to why I don't think this guy here is quite blowing my socks off from an engineering standpoint is because he quite simply is a downscale version of this guy, only this time round with elbows. If you were to take a look back at some of those older Combiner Wars figures, which have since received updates in the Studio series, more likely than not there is a big improvement, whereas when it comes down to these two, they are very similar. Although I guess maybe I could have been expecting too much, as already to begin with, the Combiner Wars version was pretty spot on to how he appeared on the show. Here is how he compares against the 86 movie Optimus Prime, and I will be fair and say that this scale is way closer to the cartoon in comparison to some of those Combiner Wars Constructicons. Next up is the myth, the legend that is the Earthrise Optimus Prime, Voyager class blaster, the 86 movie Hot Rods, and I've got to tell it how it is guys, right now I think this figure is was the best use of releasing a deluxe scale transformer at the Voyager class price point, because when it comes down to design, engineering, and especially accessories, this absolutely reigns supreme in comparison here to Scrapper. Voyager class Ironhide, Deluxe class Perceptor, then finally 86 movie Bumblebee.
Constructicons, transform!
So for the first step, take a hold of the chest unit, fold this here downwards, and then take the head sculpt and fold this here inside. This is something that is different in comparison to that previous version, and I actually do think is an improvement from an engineering standpoint. Take a hold of the chest piece, snap this into place. You'll then spin around here to the side of Scrapper, where we are now going to grab a hold of the shovel and firstly extend this here backwards, and then proceed to fold this here upwards. Those tabs are going to slide into those slots. So snap that section there into place. You'll then want to spin around here to the back, as there is this additional locking mechanism. So fold this forwards until this does snap into place exactly like that. Then for the next step, take the fist, slide this here inwards, and then grab a hold of the elbow joint and fold this backwards until this clicks into place. Again guys, be sure to do the same for the second side. Grab that fist, fold this here inwards, and then make use out of the elbow joint and fold this here backwards. What you'll then do is spin down here to the legs of Scrapper, where we are now going to proceed to directly combine these here down the middle. Then what you'll do is turn around here to the side. Now the aim of the game is to separate the foot away from the back part of the leg. So push these here in opposite directions to each other, and again guys, spin around here to this side and do exactly the same. Hinge this section all the way up to the top. Then what you'll do is spin up to the top of Scrapper. Now what I firstly would recommend to do would be to grab a hold of those hips and fold those backwards slightly. We are then going to grab a hold of these components, fold these here all the way up, as those tiny notches are going to slide into those purple cutouts. So take a hold of the hips. Now what we can do is reset them back into their original positions, and that is that entire section now fully locked into place. Then what you'll do is spin back round here to the front, where we are now going to grab a hold of the feet and snap these into these tabs. So again, be sure to do the same for that second side. Then what you'll do is spin around here to the side of Scrapper. You'll now take a hold of the feet and slide these here into the base of the vehicle mode. Then what you'll do is spin up here to the top. Now there are two main points of connection that you are definitely going to want to make note of. So first of all, grab a hold of that shoulder joint and firstly compress this here forwards and then compress it downwards, exactly like that. Then what you'll do is just lock everything there into place. So again guys, be sure to do the same for the second side. Take a hold of that shoulder joint, shift this here upwards, and then compress it downwards until it does click into place. Again, make sure those tabs and slots are all perfectly lined up, and that is the first transformation now completely complete. Devastating his way through the battlefield of Autobot City, here is Scrapper now fully transformed into his vehicle mode. And as we again whack up an image of how he appeared in the original G1 cartoon, for the most part looking to be a fairly accurate recreation, with the exception of the lack of the Decepticon insignia imprinted up front. Now seeing as to begin with this guy was already a small Voyager class, I really don't think this would have been asking for too much. I also kind of wish maybe they could have found a way to have concealed some of the gaps up top, but to be entirely honest guys, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I do quite like how you are totally able to slap on all of the additional accessories onto the back to create a full-blown weaponized mode, and something which most definitely is quite sweet is that all four wheels are totally pinned on, so when it comes down to this guy burning rubber whilst he's tearing through that battlefield, he should have no issues in doing so. Racing through some vehicle mode size comparisons, on the right hand side the Combiner Wars version is yet again back at it, and I'm going to be completely honest guys, when in this mode I do actually prefer the look of the new Studio Series version. The shade of green they're using on some of these newer Constructicons looks way closer to the animation model in comparison to what we did see from that 2015 version. Next up, to give you guys a few general comparisons, we have the 86 movie Optimus Prime, the old legend Earthrise Optimus Prime, Voyager class Ironhide, then finally Deluxe class Bumblebee.
Transform! Phase through!
So for the first step, grab a hold of the front shovel and snap this here into place. Then what you'll do is spin up to the top and firstly begin to disconnect the forearms away from the side of the vehicle. You'll then take a hold of the shoulders, spin these here all the way up to the top and then proceed to snap these here into place like that. Again guys, be sure to do the same for that second side. Then for the next step, you are firstly going to want to spin around here to the back, take a hold of what were originally the feet of the robot mode. So slide these here backwards. That will then allow for enough clearance for us to take a hold of the hips and slide these backwards. Now what you're going to do is grab a hold of the cockpit and spin this here all the way around exactly like that. Now the aim of the game is for those tabs to now slide into those tiny cutouts. And then for one final touch, grab a hold of these feet and snap these here back into place.
Prepare to meet your doom!
Here is Scrapper now fully transformed into the right foot of Devastator. Now we won't go into too much detail when it does come down to the combined mode, only because right now I really want to wait for the remaining 5 Constructicons. But so far so good. And when it comes down to some comparisons, on the right hand side we have the old Combiner Wars version. And one thing that we can definitely be sure of is that when it comes down to the ankle joint the new 86 movie version is packing, it absolutely reigns supreme in comparison. Now if you are like myself and you just need to have a rough idea of the scale of this new Devastator, then don't worry guys, because I definitely have you covered. First up, here is the 86 movie Optimus Prime, the myth, the legend that is the Eartherized Optimus Prime, Voyager class blaster, Hot Rod, Prime's right hand man Ironhide, Deluxe class Perceptor, then finally Bumblebee. So, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Scrapper. When it comes down to robot mode, this guy looks super cartoon accurate, and the same can pretty much be said for all 3 of his modes. The only downside to this guy for myself would again be that Voyager class price point. I do just think for roughly $35, seeing as this guy is most definitely on the smaller side, he should have had at the very least all of his joints completely filled in front side to back. I would love to know your guys' thoughts on Scrapper down in the comment section below. I also want to thank you guys all so much for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Transform and roll out!